Productions on the track.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are in the Progressive War Room, which is our strategy show. Talk strategy, interview people, and I have here IFAK from the IFAK Fund, and we're going to be learning today about mutual aid and how mutual aid org works, the inner workings of a mutual aid organization, and I'm really hoping to get some insight. I've always heard about mutual aid organizations, but I'm very curious about how it actually works, the day-to-day organization and things of that nature. All right. So how you doing today, IFAK?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. All right, so let's get right into it. So tell me about your organization, please.
Yeah, so basically, we had seen a need over and over again where there was a shooting or some sort of attack from right-wing terrorists, fascists, etc., in various cities in the last couple of years, and people on Twitter and in other places would always say, how can I help get an individual first aid kit? That's what IFAK stands for, or some people call them gunshot wound kits to people in these places. People were wanting to donate money or donate kits, but they didn't have a way to distribute them. So we had seen that need over and over again. And then there was a shooting, I believe, in Seattle about 4 months ago. And there was that talk happening a lot again. So we just decided, you know what? Why don't we just set up a place people can donate to? And then people can also go to this same place to request an IFAK, and then we will send it out to them. So basically, people just started pouring donations into the Cash App, and from there, people would DM us on Twitter requesting an IFAK, and we would just send them out from there, whether it be an IFAK to actually be used, or they even have these blue training kits. They're literally the color blue, but they also call them blue kits. We will send those out occasionally as well. If people need to focus on training, if they don't have prior training.
Interesting. So what exactly is in a IFAK?
So it really depends. I mean, again, IFAK just stands for individual first aid kit, but for our purposes, when we say IFAK, we typically mean a kit meant for trauma wounds, bleeding wounds, gunshots, stabbings, things like that. So it's going to have a tourniquet. It's going to have gauze. It's going to have a chest seal, which, if you're not familiar with chest seal, basically, if you get a hole poked into your chest cavity, there is a different pressure in your chest cavity than there is outside. So your body is trying to equalize that pressure, but if you have a hole there, it can't properly equalize the pressure. Now, I don't want to get too in detail here because my knowledge in that is a little limited, but basically it will cover up that hole, and you vent the hole with that seal to keep the pressure equalized. That way you can still breathe. Otherwise, basically the pressure would keep your lungs from being able to expand.
So you're talking about like a gunshot, if you got a gunshot wound or if you got stabbed? Is that
either way? So anything that like goes through that chest cavity, gunshot, stabbing. And then there's other things that can be in the IFAK. I mean, sometimes there's a hemostatic gauze, which has like a quick clot material that helps clot the blood. I mean, you can kind of customize it any which way you want, but the one we send out kind of has, a little over the most basic, but it's not, the highest high-end kit, because we wanted to be able to send out something that could actually help people, but also wasn't so expensive that we couldn't send that many out.
Interesting. Okay. Now, where is this organization based out of?
So we would rather not say that.
Okay,
we're
fine.
sending out to everywhere in the United States right now. We're looking to possibly some other places as well, but it gets difficult when you send to other countries because the regulations for these kind of medical items are different from country to country.
So who would contact you? That's my question.
I'm sorry?
Who are you? Shoot, I'm thinking like, who would you market this to? But the question is more like, who would use your help? So is it somebody who might be protesting in the George Floyd protest, that let's say we're in the height of the George Floyd, protest, and we know somebody, we're going to organize a rally or a march. We would have people that say, hey, the person who's in charge of safety for that march would say, hey, we need individual first aid kits. Let's reach out to IFAK. Is that somebody that would be your audience?
Yeah, so that was the original impetus. It was for, protests like that during the George Floyd uprising and various, anti-fascist actions, things like that. But generally, we aren't interviewing people asking, what they do, etc. We want these kits to get out into the hands of not just people who are protesting, but I mean, if you look at, the recent attacks at the school in Uvalde, or the, racist massacre in Buffalo, New York. I mean, these were everyday people. These were not, protesters or anything. So we want to get these kits in the hands of everyone. So when these events happen, they can save lives. I mean, for instance, there was that shooting in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, a couple months ago, and a few people's lives were probably saved by the fast action of bystanders. So we want every bystander we can to have these kits, and they're small enough where you can just throw them in the knapsack, throw them in the backpack, put them
Yeah,
in a fucking fanny
interesting.
pack, even.
Wow, this is so. Do you have like I'm kind of imagining what the idea is now that you say that, and I'm wondering, do you have like a YouTube or a video somewhere that when you're giving this out, like I can get one of these kits and then you can show me how it works, all the different things that you name that's inside the kit?
Yeah, so as of right now, we don't do any training. That's been asked about repeatedly, and it's just kind of not within our expertise. And to be honest, sending out the kits, doing the donations, all that takes up quite a bit of time. So we're hoping to figure out through a third party a way to be able to do training. Now, if you Google "Stop the Bleed," there are, which is the kind of training you'd need. You need "Stop the Bleed" training. There is a free online program. I believe it's stopthebleed.org.
Okay.
And through that, you can kind of do some training online, which obviously in person is always better, but online is better than nothing. But right now, we just have the Twitter where we basically say, hey, we need money, or DM us if you need an IFAK. And then we have the Cash App where people, are sending money to, so we can purchase these kits.
Okay, so this is mainly for purchase. Do you give out a few or for free or at all? Or I'm just curious.
No, they're all for free.
Oh,
So,
they're all
so
for free. Okay.
yes. So people donate money, and the idea is that money is going to go to anyone who requests a kit. So we're
Okay.
not. If you want a kit, you can send us no money. There's no, most people who request a kit don't send us $1 even.
Okay.
There are a lot of people, who might be more fortunate to have more money to throw out to the community, and they've sent us money in a lot of cases and
Okay.
never requested an IFAK, but then
Okay.
that money is going to go towards other people getting one, because we do
Good.
not do any sort of reselling. We don't make any money, anything like that.
So yeah, this is the type of nitty gritty I want to get into, because coming from the we live in a mainly capitalistic type of society, and I'm trying to learn more about mutual aid. I give credit to Revolutionary Blackout Network organization for introducing me to mutual aid. There's also the book by Dean Spade that I finished listening to, the audio book called Mutual Aid, that I'm just trying to find out as much as I can about the organization. And I find that I tend to fall back to like the capitalistic way of thinking. So when you said what you just said, I'm thinking automatically like, do you even suggest like, hey, if you want a kit, you can get it for free, but we suggest you pay $2 or like, the cost of it. If you can't, it's free. Like, do you even give that a kind of option?
No, we don't suggest any donation. And a lot of times people feel the need to explain why they need it. But we always tell them, it's the same as, certain other things. Like, for instance, we don't believe women should be asked why they need an abortion. We also don't believe you need to explain to us why you need a life saving trauma kit. You just tell us you need it, and we want to provide it.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. And just to give a shout out real quick to my PJ Chris CMT 63, who's in the building in the audience. She had two questions. So Chris, we had the first question was answered earlier. You can rewind, or maybe after we're done, you can rewind the video where IFAK talks about what is exactly in the kit. She said, "What exactly are they putting in the kit?" I personally think that they need saline solution for tear gas eye wash. Now, is that something that you would think about putting in this kit? I'm just
So
curious.
the thing is that there's a couple things, that we would love to put in the kit, but it's twofold. It's one, money, but then with eye solution, that's not expensive. We could do that, but the thing is, we're not sending them out directly from us. They're coming straight through a supplier, so there's no way for us to include that. But that's something you can buy for a few dollars at the
Mm,
grocery store or whatever. Whereas the other stuff we're sending in the kit is much more expensive and harder to get. I mean, we even get a discount through who we get
mhm.
it through, so it is
Oh,
even cheaper
nice.
for us. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's very considerate. All right. So yeah, that's really good to know how you give it out. It's free. You don't even need an explanation. It's just like, hey, if you need it, you get it. That's one thing I learned about mutual aid, that there's no means testing. There's no stipulation. Like, usually if you want to get a scholarship, for example, they'll say like your household has to be below the poverty line or have a certain amount of money in the household, and then you can qualify for this scholarship. Um, from what I understand, mutual aid has nothing to do. There's no stipulations, no questions asked. If you request it, then you get it. And that's one thing that I like about mutual aid, but it's definitely a reprogramming that I have to do from the capitalist way of thinking. So I want to ask you, what's your current strategy for raising funds?
So originally it was just straight Cash App donations. We're looking into some other ways, like maybe selling some merch with the logo where all the money just goes straight into sending more IFAKs out. But it seems like our best way is to literally just ask people, hey, we need money. This is what we're doing. This is how many we've sent so far. And post the Cash App, and people have sent money through that. I mean, we just sent our 200th IFAK, and I did the math, and that's over $12,000 in donations in four
Congrats.
months. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean, we're very very happy about it.
That's awesome.
But it seemed to work pretty well. I mean, we get about as many donations as we do requests. Sometimes it's more donations, sometimes it's more requests, but it usually evens out, and people don't typically have to wait more than 3 to 4 weeks
Mhm,
from when they request one to when they get it.
mhm. So, how do you grow your membership in this group, and also how many members or helpers, whatever you want? I don't know if volunteer is the right word, but how many people are in your organization, and how do you grow it?
Well, I would say this. I would say most mutual aid organizations, are 1 to 3 people. I think
Mm.
Remora House in Washington, D.C., they joke that they're 2 people and a dog.
Ah,
I
okay.
think it's pretty common, for it to be between 1 and 3 people. As far as us growing membership, it's going to be a situation where at some point, right now we're able to handle how many, what's going in, what's going out. But at some point we may need more people. At some point it may be, we have somebody, maybe we put up a website, maybe we have somebody dealing with the money coming in, somebody dealing with sending the things out, a separate person dealing with any issues from the deliveries. But as of right now, we're able to do it with how many people we have, which again, I'm not going to say exactly, but I'll say most mutual aid organizations are 1 to 3 people.
Gotcha, got you. So,
Now, I wouldn't say, sorry, real quick. I just want to say, I'm not saying 1 to 3 people all in all. I'm just saying 1 to 3 people that are there every time,
mhm,
uh, you know, bringing things, doing the work, whatever. But then, the whole community's involved. But you get what
yeah.
I'm saying. It's 1 to 3 people, making sure everything's set up and flowing properly.
So that brings me to this question: like, what gave you? I don't even know who the founder of this organization is, but what inspired the creation of this? I'm really curious.
Yeah, so like we had said a little bit earlier, we kept seeing this need online where people would, after a shooting attack or a stabbing or something that was heavily publicized, people would talk about the need for IFAKs. and people would talk about wanting to donate money to send some to the communities where it already happened.
Gotcha.
We
Okay,
kept
you
seeing
did
that.
say that, so I apologize. So okay, so which makes my question now is IFAK, because this sounds, now I'm not familiar with this even as a term. Like, is this a medical term that certain people know that might be in the nursing field or whatever, and they're like, man, they should have IFAKs, and
Yes.
that's how this came about? Yeah, okay, because this is from somebody I know. This is my first time even hearing that term.
Yeah, so the IFAK, yeah, IFAK is a term used by EMS, by
Mm.
people in the medical field, the military, et cetera. It just stands for individual
Ah,
first aid kit. Now, as
yeah,
far as our name, we had made it IFAK Fund because, again, we didn't want to stand out too much. We are a mutual aid organization, but we don't want to kind of kneecap ourselves by saying this is only for a certain type of people with a certain type of politics. That's not to say we support anything on the right, but that's just to
yeah.
say we'll take donations from anyone.
Okay, gotcha. No problem whatsoever. Okay, so here's my last question to you, and then we'll end the show. So right now, I'm on a fact finding mission. I'm trying to find out as much as I can about mutual aid organizations. I read the Dean Spade mutual aid book that was recommended by Feeney, who also does mutual aid work. I'm interviewing you. The whole purpose is to find out if this idea that I have can work. And basically, we have electoral politics where we had Bernie ran in 2016, he lost. Then we had Justice Democrats, AOC won in 2018. We had in 2020 the second wave of progressive with Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman. And then, but we've seen a lot of losses as well. Nina Turner lost recently, and even yesterday, Amy Vallela in Nevada, who was like a Justice Democrat in the past, she just lost. So I'm thinking we got to find a different strategy than running the traditional way, which is the traditional way is you ask for donations, you ask for volunteers, and you ask um to build up your organization, and then you win or you lose. And I look at that and I see, okay, when they lose, it's not even like they pass on that infrastructure to the next person. If somebody else wants to carry that torch, it seems like everything just dies with that person. Like, we kind of see that with the Bernie Sanders movement, where after he finished, he lost. He started our revolution, but like ultimately it's just like the revolution doesn't really continue. So I was thinking, what if we had a mutual aid political party where it's a mutual aid first organization, where you have people in your community, in a district, you have an organization that focuses on knocking on doors. And just like how a traditional campaign would knock on doors and say, hey, this person is running for office, we're trying to let you be aware of them, and also if you can donate money to them, to the campaign to help us, you say, hi, we're running, this person is running for office, but we want to know, how can we help you? Do you have anything of help of need? Do you need food? Do you need do you have, like, you live by yourself but you have a large furniture that needs to be taken out? Do you need your lawn cut? Maybe you don't have a chance to cut it, or you need, anything that's needed. And you start that organization in the district, and now, instead of, let's say the person loses at the end of the day, they can at least say, hey, we knocked on so many doors and we've helped 1,000 people. So the money that we raised, this amount of money went back into mutual aid and helped this amount of people. So now we're thinking differently. And this is a progressive way, I think, of running, instead of the rich, which, they run big money. They just run TV ads. We're running from the grassroots, from the ground up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say this. I think that people that are helping their communities would get the communities to vote for them. The problem is most politicians, they're just there for photo ops and
Mhm.
there to get a vote. But if people were running, not that we're necessarily into electoral politics, but if people
Yeah.
were running and they had already actually been helping their communities with like mutual aid, for instance, I think that would drive people to actually vote for them. And I think those are the kind of people that might be inclined to dismantle the system from within. Not that we think that may necessarily work,
Yeah.
But again, I think if anybody deserves a vote, it's somebody that's actually helping their community for real and not just pretending to.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to continue trying to do research, and if you have any feedback or any ideas, please let me know. Anybody in the audience have any feedback? I can't promise I'm going to take everybody's idea, but I see this effort as a collaborative effort where we are going to try to work together to build something, and just like what mutual aid is, and hopefully develop a horizontal structure where you don't have just this one leader but have everyone collaborating together. All right. So, IFAK, thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview with me. I learned a lot about just even the kits. I learned a lot about the kits. I learned about your organization. Please let the audience know how they can donate and help you out with your organization.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time and for giving us the time to chat about this. So you can find us on Twitter at IFAK Fund. That's IFAKFUND, and our Cash App is the exact same thing. It's the cash sign IFAK Fund.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. PJ Chris, thanks for coming by in the chat. HP, thank you also for coming by in the chat. I see you said one last thing. PJ Chris, I like case study QB idea about asking if they need help with stuff like moving stuff out and to add on the idea, either reselling it or donating it. Yeah, thank you so much. So we're going to be developing this idea, and hopefully we're going to be launching it for 2024, experimenting with it in at least one district. We're hoping to do that, but I just want to do a fact finding, ask as many questions as I can first, and then we're going to move on. And then one person just came in. Loco said, "Have a good day, K City QB." All right, everybody, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
IFAK, you have a great one. Just hold on one moment. I'm going to end the chat. So everybody, have